Captain Aaron Hale never believed in fate. He believed in engines, numbers, and the hum of starship metal beneath his boots. But when the war came, the great Terran-Volcari War, fate laughed at him anyway. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, was torn apart near the Ceres belt. Fire and silence filled the void, and Aaron was left drifting alone inside an escape pod, surrounded by the ruins of everything he once knew. He thought that was the end. The stars were quiet, cold, and endless. His oxygen meter blinked red. For hours he stared out the small viewport at the broken pieces of Earth's fleet. The war was lost, humanity scattered. He closed his eyes, waiting for the dark to take him. Then came the light. A massive ship, black as shadow but lined with glowing silver veins, appeared from the void. The insignia of the Valkyrie Empire burned bright on its hull, 3 crescent moons circling a single star. The enemy. When their tractor beam caught his pod, Aaron thought death had finally arrived. He woke up in chains, surrounded by tall, pale soldiers with eyes like burning mercury. Their armor shimmered like living glass. None of them spoke to him. They dragged him through wide halls carved from crystal and metal until he stood before a throne of shining stone. And there she was, Queen Serathis of the Valkyrie Empire. Her presence filled the room like gravity. She was tall, graceful, her skin faintly glowing under the cold light. Her silver hair floated softly behind her like strands of mist, but it was her eyes that caught him, ancient, intelligent, and full of something strange. Curiosity. She looked down at the broken human before her. "You are the one who survived," she said. Her voice was calm, smooth, and yet there was an edge in it, a blade wrapped in silk. Aaron, blood on his lip, met her gaze. "Guess humans are hard to kill," he said, forcing a grin. A few of her guards shifted uneasily, surprised by his tone. The Queen tilted her head, studying him. "You joke. In the presence of death?" "Ma'am," he said. "If you were going to kill me, you'd have done it already. So yeah, I guess I can afford to smile." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then the Queen's lips curved, not into a full smile, but the smallest ghost of one. It was gone almost instantly, but Aaron saw it. She gestured lightly with her hand. "Take him to the royal ward," she ordered. "He is not to be harmed." Aaron didn't understand. A human prisoner and not executed? The Valkyrie had destroyed fleets without blinking, yet their queen had spared him. Days turned to weeks. His wounds healed. They gave him food, clothes, even books, though he couldn't read their strange language. And sometimes she would visit, alone. At first she asked questions about Earth, about humans, about how they lived. He answered with stories, half serious, half jokes. He told her about blue skies, about rain, about how humans would argue over everything yet still come together in the end. She listened in silence, her eyes always fixed on him, as if each word was a secret she had never heard before. Over time, the conversations changed. She started asking about emotions, love, friendship, laughter, things that didn't exist in her empire anymore. She spoke of her loneliness, her endless duties, her people who obeyed her but never understood her. One night, as they stood near the crystal window of her chamber, looking at the stars, Aaron tried to lighten the mood. "You know," he said with a crooked smile, "if you weren't so busy conquering planets, I'd say marry me." It was a joke, a stupid, nervous joke from a human who didn't know what else to say. But Serathis didn't laugh. She turned her head slowly, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. For a long moment she just looked at him, expression unreadable. Then softly she said, "Marry you?" Aaron's heart skipped. "I was kidding," he said quickly, embarrassed. Yet the Queen's lips curved again, that faint ghost of a smile returning. "Perhaps," she whispered, "you should not joke about things the stars might hear." And in that moment, though he didn't yet know it, something inside both of them had begun to change. It had started as a joke, but fate had been listening. After that night, Queen Serathis could not forget the human's words. "Marry me." They were said as a joke, yet they echoed in her mind like a melody from a world she had never known. Humans spoke of love so easily, so freely. To her people, love was weakness. To her, it was something she had never been allowed to feel. Still, she found herself thinking of him, of the man who dared to joke with a queen. Captain Aaron Hale became more than just a curiosity. Each day she would find a reason to speak with him, Sometimes she would summon him to her throne room under the excuse of diplomatic study. Other times she would meet him in the crystal gardens where glowing vines climbed the silver walls. She said it was for observation, but the truth was simpler. She liked his company. He talked too much, she thought at first. Humans always did, yet there was a warmth in his voice, a life that the cold halls of her palace had long forgotten. He spoke of oceans that danced under the sun, of rain that kissed the earth, of laughter echoing through crowded streets. He made her imagine colors she had never seen, sounds she could not name, and emotions her kind had long buried. One evening, she found him standing at the window of the upper dome, staring at the endless stars, the glow of the nebula reflected in his eyes, making him look almost otherworldly himself. "Do you miss your world?" she asked quietly. He didn't look away from the stars. "Every day. But if I close my eyes, I can still hear it. The sound of waves, the wind through the trees." "My mother's voice." He smiled faintly. "Guess that's what keeps me going." Sarathis stood beside him. For a moment, she too looked at the stars, not as a ruler or a conqueror, but as someone who felt small beneath their light. "In my world," she said softly, "we do not remember such things. We only look forward. The past is considered weakness." Aaron turned to her. "Then your world's forgotten how to live." She blinked at him, surprised by his boldness. But instead of anger, something like curiosity sparked inside her. "And you, human? You think you know how to live?" He chuckled. "No, but we try, and maybe that's the difference." Silence filled the space between them, not awkward but heavy with something neither could name. The queen felt it like the pull of gravity, drawing her towards something dangerous, something forbidden. Over the next few weeks, that pull grew stronger. She invited him to dine with her, breaking every law of her own court. He made her laugh, truly laugh, for the first time in years. It felt strange yet freeing. Her advisors began to whisper. Some called it fascination, others called it weakness. She ignored them. She told herself it was simple interest, nothing more. But when she walked through the gardens alone, her thoughts always wandered back to him, to the way his eyes shone when he smiled, to the courage in his voice, to the warmth that seemed to follow him everywhere. One night, during a quiet dinner, she asked him, "Do humans ever fear love?" Aaron looked up, caught off guard. "All the time," he said, "because love means giving someone the power to hurt you." She thought about that for a long moment. "And yet you still love?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, because it's worth the pain." For the first time, Sarathis looked away. The word love was like fire on her tongue, warm, burning, alive. It frightened her. But more than fear, she felt something new. When she returned to her chambers that night, she stood before the stars once more. Her reflection stared back at her, a queen who had ruled empires, now shaken by one human's words. In her heart, she whispered something she didn't understand yet. "What are you doing to me, human?" The stars had no answer. They only watched, shining silently, as a queen's heart began to change. The nights in the Valkyrie palace were quiet in a way that made every sound feel louder. The hum of the crystal walls, the faint whisper of recycled air, and sometimes the soft footsteps of a human wandering where he should not be. Aaron Hale had learned the patterns of the palace quickly, where to go without being seen, how to avoid unnecessary questions. But he no longer wanted to hide. Queen Sarathis began to trust him in ways no one else could. She allowed him into the chamber of strategy, where plans of war and conquest spread like silver threads across illuminated maps. She listened to his opinions, to his ideas, and sometimes, when she disagreed, she argued with a softness he had not expected. There was no anger in her voice, only curiosity and a strange pleasure in being challenged. He noticed small things about her, the things no one else would see. How she touched the edges of her throne when she was thinking, how her eyes softened when she looked at the stars, how her fingers trembled slightly when she spoke of her empire's fallen soldiers. One night she invited him to the garden. The glowing plants bathed the path in gentle light, and the air smelled of alien blossoms, sweet yet sharp, intoxicating in a way he could not name. "You like it here," she said quietly, stepping beside him. Aaron smiled, looking at the strange plants glowing like captured stars. "I never thought I'd find beauty in an alien world, but you make it easy to see it." Her lips curved, almost a smile, and he felt it like warmth in the chill of the night. Do humans always speak with such recklessness? Only when we're scared, he said honestly, or when we want someone to notice us. Her eyes met his, and for a long moment neither spoke. Then softly, she said something he would never forget. I was hoping you'd say that. The words were barely audible, almost lost in the hum of the palace, but Aaron heard them, felt them, and his heart raced. The queen, the conqueror of 12 systems, the woman who could crush fleets with a thought, had whispered to him in a tone that was fragile and dangerous at once. What? He stammered, unprepared for honesty, unprepared for warmth. Her gaze held his. Do you not understand? I have waited for someone like you. Someone not of my people. Someone who sees the world differently. You make me feel human again. Aaron's throat tightened. Humans had a word for this, but he hesitated to use it. Love. It seemed impossible, yet undeniable. Queen Sarathis. I'm just a man, he said softly. A human. You could never stop. Her voice was firmer now, yet still trembling like a leaf in wind. Do not say such things. Do not diminish what we feel. Even across worlds, even across empires. I want this. I want you, Aaron swallowed hard. His hands, which had gripped weapons and consoles for years, felt useless. Yet something inside him reached out to her. Something that had grown from all the shared stories, all the quiet moments, all the laughter. I want it too, he whispered back. Even if the stars themselves are against us. Her smile grew slightly, small but real, and she reached her hand toward him. Aaron hesitated, then took it. Her skin was cool, alien, yet alive, and when their fingers intertwined, it felt like the first time he had ever truly been understood. They stood like that for hours, neither speaking, letting the quiet of the night hold them. The galaxy stretched endlessly beyond the crystal walls, but for once neither feared it. For the first time they existed in a moment that was entirely their own. Aaron finally broke the silence with a joke, the kind he always used when he wanted to hide how much he felt. So, does this mean I have to start learning alien wedding traditions now? She laughed softly, a sound that seemed to echo among the stars themselves. Perhaps, she said. Or perhaps you only need to promise that you will stay, even when the stars fall. And in that whisper, in that touch, in that quiet shared under the alien constellations, something fragile yet unstoppable began. Two beings from different worlds had found a reason to defy the void, and the first spark of love had ignited. Life in the Valkyrie Palace had changed. Aaron Hale was no longer just a prisoner or a curiosity. He'd become a companion, an unexpected presence in a world that demanded obedience and cold calculation. Queen Sarathis allowed him into places no human had ever been. The war rooms, the crystal libraries, even the private chambers where she worked late into the night studying star charts and battle reports. Their bond grew quietly, almost dangerously. She asked him about his home, about humanity, about the little things that made life worth living, and he listened when she spoke about her people, her empire, and the loneliness of leadership. In these moments, she seemed less like a queen and more like a woman, burdened with a crown too heavy to bear alone. Aaron learned to read her moods. He could tell when she was tired by the way her shoulders slumped, when she was anxious by the way she traced patterns on the table, and when she was afraid by the small flicker in her silver eyes. He tried to comfort her in the human way he knew best, with words, jokes, and sometimes just by sitting silently beside her. But the court was not blind. Whispers began to ripple through the palace halls. Advisors and generals noticed the human walking beside the queen, speaking in the same tone, laughing in ways no one else dared. Some called it fascination, others called it betrayal. Some believed Aaron was manipulating her. Others believed the queen had fallen into weakness. One evening, as the stars shimmered through the palace dome, Aaron confronted her. They stood alone, the glow of the constellations painting their faces with silver light. Sarathis, he said quietly, you're risking everything by being close to me. Your people, they'll never understand. They'll call me a spy, a traitor, or worse. She turned to him, her gaze steady, unwavering. I have already considered that, she said softly, and I have decided it does not matter. My people obey me, yes, but I will not obey fear. Aaron swallowed hard. But if they act against us, If they force you to choose between me and your throne—" Her hand brushed his arm gently, and the cold touch of her fingers belied the warmth in her eyes. "Then I choose what I have not chosen in many years. I choose to be honest with my heart. I choose you." The words struck him like a shockwave. Humans talked about love as something fragile, something delicate and easily broken. But here was a queen, fierce, powerful, unstoppable, willing to risk an empire for the courage to be human, to feel, to love. For a long moment they stood in silence, letting the stars outside be the only witness. Aaron felt a swell of emotions: fear, awe, gratitude, and a deep, relentless hope. He had come to space thinking he was alone, that survival was the only goal. Yet now he realized that love, even across galaxies and empires, had found a way into his life. "Then we face it together," he said finally, taking her hand in both of his. "Whatever comes, we face it together. I don't care about safety or rules or what anyone else thinks. I care about you." A faint smile curved her lips, a real smile this time, unguarded and beautiful. "And I care about you," she whispered. "More than I ever thought possible." But even in that quiet, tender moment, danger loomed. Aaron knew that their growing bond could spark rebellion within the palace. He could hear the whispers echoing in the halls, feel the tension of officers who were loyal to the throne but suspicious of him. And he knew, sooner or later, someone would act. For now, though, they had this moment. The galaxy outside could wait. The stars themselves seemed to pause, watching as a queen and a human stood together, not as ruler and prisoner, but as two beings daring to choose each other against every law of war, duty, and expectation. In that choice they found freedom. Not freedom from the empire, not freedom from danger, but freedom from fear. The courage to be honest, to care, to love. And for Aaron, it was the most human thing he had ever felt. And for Sarathis, it was the most alive she had felt in 1,000 years. The peace they had found in the glowing halls of the Valkyrie palace was fragile. Aaron Hale could feel it in every glance from a soldier, in every whisper behind closed doors. The court was restless. Some viewed the human as a spy, others as a dangerous influence on the queen, and whispers like poison in water spread quickly. It began subtly. Advisors would linger in the hallways, exchanging coded glances. Generals would raise questions about strategy when Aaron was nearby, pressing him to speak in front of the queen as if to test his knowledge and loyalty. He could feel the tension rising, a storm gathering behind the beauty of crystal walls and glowing gardens. One evening, as he returned from the observation deck, a message reached him. He recognized the symbol immediately: the Council of 12, the ruling body that demanded obedience above all. Their seal was a death sentence in all but name. He approached Sarathis cautiously, holding the message like a fragile piece of glass. She glanced at it, her silver eyes darkening. Her hands trembled slightly as she broke the seal. Aaron had never seen fear in her eyes before, only resolve. But now it was there, sharp, quiet, and almost unbearable. "They've issued an order," she said softly, her voice tight. "They claim I have allowed a human to corrupt the throne. They demand your execution." Aaron's chest tightened. His mind raced through every possible escape, every strategy, every scenario he had ever faced in battle. Yet none of it seemed enough. He had survived fire and vacuum, but this was political death, and the queen, the woman he had come to trust more than life itself, could not protect him easily. "You have to leave," she said, her voice almost breaking. "They will not stop. You must escape." He shook his head. "No, I'm not leaving you. You told me we face it together." "We promised." Sarathis looked away, biting the inside of her lip. The queen who had conquered galaxies, who had commanded legions and destroyed fleets, now stood powerless in the face of her own people. Yet her hand found his, small and warm, against his calloused fingers. I cannot risk losing you," she whispered. "And yet, I cannot defy them without consequence. My empire could fall, my people could suffer, and still I will not allow them to take you from me." The words tore at Aaron's heart. He had always known war came with sacrifice, but this was something different. Love entwined with duty, human courage against alien politics. He had learned that love was never safe, but this was the sharpest edge he had ever faced. They spent the night planning. Secret passages, hidden hangars, emergency codes, everything that could lead to survival. Sarathis was meticulous, calm, and yet her eyes betrayed the storm inside her. Each moment she spent giving him instructions was a moment stolen from the throne she ruled, a throne that demanded obedience above all else. As dawn approached, the palace corridors were eerily quiet. Aaron packed his few belongings and waited by the hidden hangar. Sarathis approached, her flowing robes barely brushing the ground. She stopped before him, their eyes locking. "I will not let them take you," she said, her voice steady despite the fear that lingered behind her silver gaze. "Even if it means losing everything else?" Aaron nodded, holding her hand tightly. "Then let's leave together. Whatever comes, we face it as one." A soft alarm sounded in the distance. The council had moved first. Soldiers were marching, the echo of their boots like thunder in the crystal halls. Their window was closing. Sarathis leaned close, her voice barely a whisper against his ear. "Remember, the stars remember those who are brave enough to love." Aaron swallowed hard, and in that moment he knew that their bond was no longer simple affection or curiosity. It was defiance. It was courage. And it was love. They ran together, hearts pounding, the palace behind them shaking with betrayal and fire. The night swallowed them, but the connection they shared, fragile, forbidden, unstoppable, burned brighter than any star in the galaxy. The hangar was bathed in a dim, eerie light. Sparks flickered along the edges of damaged control panels, and the faint hum of distant alarms shook the crystal walls. Aaron Hale's heart pounded, but the steady presence of Queen Sarathis beside him kept his fear in check. She moved with purpose, her robes flowing around her like liquid silver, eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. The Valkyrie Empire had trained her to conquer worlds, to think faster than anyone else, but now she was using that brilliance to save one human. "This way," she whispered, leading him through a hidden corridor beneath the palace. The path twisted and curved, designed to confuse intruders and spies alike. Aaron had memorized it as quickly as he could, but every step still carried the weight of danger. They could be discovered at any moment. "Do you ever get scared?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm despite the tension. She glanced at him, a small smirk playing on her lips. "Fear is useful. It sharpens the mind. But courage is what keeps us alive. Are you ready for both?" Aaron grinned nervously. "Always." They emerged in the lower hangar. A small, agile shuttle waited, sleek and designed for speed rather than battle. Sarathis keyed in the launch codes with practiced precision. The engines hummed, and the craft began to glow softly in the hangar light. Aaron hesitated. You're staying?" Her gaze met his, unwavering. "My place is here. My empire needs its queen. But my heart needs you." He swallowed hard. "Then I'll come back for you. I promise." Her hand brushed his cheek gently, cold but alive, and she whispered, "I believe you. But promise me, survive first." He nodded, stepping into the shuttle. The doors sealed behind him. The engines roared and the craft lifted, shaking as the palace crumbled under the assault of loyalists and rebels alike. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, cold and beautiful, silent witnesses to a forbidden love. The journey through space was tense. Aaron piloted the shuttle with skill, dodging patrols and navigating asteroid fields while Sarathis provided guidance, her mind sharp even under stress. They were silent for stretches of time, sharing nothing but the hum of engines and the faint glow of the stars outside. Finally, in a brief pause among distant gas clouds, Aaron looked at her. "I don't know if I ever thanked you for trusting me, for saving me." "For this?" Sarathis smiled softly, her silver eyes reflecting distant starlight. "I saved you because I could not bear to lose you. You make me feel alive in a way I thought impossible. And perhaps I wanted you to know that." Aaron's chest tightened. "You've given me more than survival. You've given me hope. You've given me everything." They reached a quiet system far from the Empire's main sectors. Here Aaron could safely plan their next steps. The danger had not passed, but the immediate threat had been outrun. They floated together in the shuttle, the stars spinning endlessly outside the viewport. Sarathis reached for his hand again, entwining their fingers. "Even if the galaxy opposes us, even if every star and empire stands against this, I would still choose you." Aaron's lips curved into a determined smile. "Then we'll face them, together. And if love is the weapon, then the stars themselves cannot stop us. For a moment they sat quietly, letting the hum of the engines and the glitter of the cosmos be their world. No crowns, no empires, no politics. Just two hearts beating in defiance of a galaxy that would never understand. And in that silence, they knew something extraordinary had begun. It was not just survival. It was not just escape. It was the birth of a bond that would challenge empires, defy fear, and prove that even across stars, humanity and love could endure. Aaron leaned close, resting his forehead against hers. "We'll make it," he whispered. She smiled, a real smile, luminous and brave. "Because we are together," she whispered back. And in the endless dark of space, that promise shone brighter than any star. The galaxy was vast, cold and indifferent, but in that expanse, Aaron Hale felt something he had never experienced before: hope. Their escape had been perilous, but they had survived. Every jump through uncharted space, every maneuver past patrols brought them closer to safety, and yet farther from the home he had once known. Sarathis sat across from him in the small shuttle cabin, her silver eyes reflecting the distant stars. She was quiet, a queen stripped of her throne, yet more herself than ever before. Her hands rested in her lap, but Aaron could feel the tension beneath her calm exterior. He reached for her hand and she let him take it. The warmth of her touch reminded him of every quiet moment they had shared, every laugh, every glance, every whispered word that had pulled them together. "You ever wonder," Aaron asked softly, "what comes next? After all this, after we've run?" She looked at him thoughtful. "I do, every day. But I know one thing, I do not regret it. Not for a moment." He smiled faintly, feeling the weight of those words. To leave her empire, to abandon everything she had ruled, would have broken most hearts. But she had chosen differently. She had chosen love, she had chosen him, and he had chosen the same. The weeks that followed were filled with quiet planning. They plotted courses to safe systems, discovered small colonies willing to harbor them, and avoided the warships that still hunted humans and Valkyrie alike. It was dangerous, exhausting, yet strangely peaceful. For the first time, they were not prisoner and queen, soldier and ruler. They were simply two beings daring to exist together. One evening, as they drifted past a nebula glowing in blues and purples, Aaron turned to her. "Sarathis, I never thought I'd hear those words from a queen." "I was hoping you'd say that." She smiled faintly, a curve that reached her eyes. "And I never thought I'd find someone who could make me laugh, who could make me feel human again. Yet here we are." He laughed softly, leaning closer. "So what now? Do we just float through space forever?" Her hand found his cheek. "No, we make a life, one where the stars cannot touch our bond, where no council, no empire, no war can dictate what we feel." Aaron swallowed hard, realizing the depth of what she was saying. Love was dangerous, fragile, yet unstoppable. It could defy empires, it could endure distance, it could survive loss. And now, between the two of them, it had found a home. They stopped at a quiet world, a small colony orbiting a dying star. Here they were free to exist without the weight of crowns and fleets. Aaron helped her step down from the shuttle, and she looked around, taking in the unfamiliar but welcoming world. "I have nothing here," she admitted softly. "No throne, no court, only you. And that's enough," Aaron said, pulling her into his arms. "Because wherever you are, that is home for me." She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. For the first time in years, she felt peace. Not the calculated peace of a queen commanding her people, but the quiet human peace of trust, of being loved without fear or expectation. As the sun rose over the horizon of that distant world, Aaron whispered, "Marry me. For real this time." Sarathis lifted her head, eyes glimmering with tears and silver light. Her lips curved into a smile that held all the galaxies within it. "I was hoping you'd say that," she whispered back. And the words carried the weight of a promise, unbreakable, eternal, and bright against the darkness of space. They stood together, hand in hand, as the new day unfolded. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and uncertainty, but for them it did not matter, because they had each other, because love had conquered fear, distance, and duty. And in that quiet, beautiful moment, two hearts from different worlds became one, a testament to courage, defiance, and humanity, proving that even in the cold void of space, love could shine brighter than the stars.